welcome to the Dayho review. First of all, let me tell you, not a professional. Not going to try to be a professional. I don't have the equipment to be a professional. I'm not trying to get likes. I just happen to be really interested in a product, and there's a lot of confusion. There's a lack of detail on the internet, on videos, on Amazon, even the vendor's website. So, quick story. I bought a nice big ass toolbox, and let's take a look at it. This is it. Not a product review or anything, but if you look at that, there's about maybe almost 6 inches of distance between the cabinet, with the casters. Anyway, my plan was to build a work table and have this workbench slide underneath the workbench, but this tool cart already is about 37 to 38 inches tall, and put a workbench on top of that. We're now looking at 42 inches, and I'm a short little feller, so that ain't gonna work very well. So got on the internet, found this thing called a leveling caster. So I was amazed. The videos make it look so cool. You can have a swivel, you can have a wheel, and you can also have some levels. Anyway, so I got on Amazon. There is a slew of parts. I watched video after video, brand after brand, and I bought the Amazon choice. First of all, the name wasn't mentioned anywhere in the ad. It went for about $41.95 shipped. I had another one that I'll talk about that in a minute. Anyway, these are the Footmaster GD60F, and it says 1,100 pounds, but the 60S are pedestals or something like that. Anyway, this is what I got. Oh, put this over here. So not too bad, just like advertised. Really hard to get any kind of detail. First of all, brand says Footmaster, kind of odd, and then max is at 2450 newtons. And God, you can barely read the thing, but it looks like it says C docking. After kind of touching this and opening the box, I started to realize these are basically what you would call bootlegs or knockoffs. There is a brand name called a Footmaster, not Footmaster. And if you look at pictures, which is hard to do on the internet, you'll see that the Footmasters are actually by a company called G-Dock Incorporated, and there'll actually be a space here. Somehow when they bootleg these, they decide to put it all together. They skip the logo. Everything else looks fine. There is a recess behind these screws. For some reason they use different hardware. Anyway, after touching these, you can feel the bearings grinding. You can look up how they function, but this function like they should. But after I started playing around with them, I could see like underneath there's just a pin. This thing is not bearinged, and it's held in with sheet metal, self-tapping sheet metal screws, and not very good. And if you start to play with them, if you get them to where they will be casters, there's a lot of play. I mean, I wish I could show that more on camera, but just a lot of play. So, oh man, I was just disappointed with this, and I decided to go and spend double the cost for a brand name a company called, well, let's see what did I get. I bought these. Now, the Footmaster knockoffs, or the Footmaster knockoffs, go for $41.95. Caster's HQ's version of these, which claim to be the best on the internet, guaranteed, go for $79.99. After a coupon code and shipping, it ended up being $80.24. So I thought, man, I'm going to be buying something nice. Anyways, put that aside. Let's do a little bit of comparison. First of all, the bearing just feels chunky and gross, and well, I'm going to actually take them apart for you. By the way, the reason I'm doing this video, I don't like doing videos. One was all the confusion on how these work, what they feel like, but once I bought these, I kind of knew what I was looking for, what to really expect. And once I got the high quality, expensive HQ ones, I was a little shocked, a little disappointed as a matter of fact. So let's see, well, let's open the HQ ones. This is how they came. Bubble wrap, I swear to God, this is how they came. No dividers like the photos, but look just like they're supposed to. Now let's have these compared. They look almost identical, but there are some subtle differences. One, if you look at the Footmaster knockoff, you notice there is no adjustment down here, while the Caster HQ, there's a 13 millimeter nut in there that allows you to adjust this up and down. Because if you actually I'm just putting body weight, and once you put a little body weight and you try to turn this thing, you're gonna have blisters all over your finger by the time you get a workbench or a table up. And my bench alone without tools weighs 480 pounds, maybe around there. Anyway, lots of weight, and I'm just putting body weight or just arm weight, and you can feel the HQ itself. It is just as hard, if not a little bit easier. But like I said, lucky for this, you have a 13 millimeter, and if you have one of these fancy ratcheting open ends, you can get in there pretty easily. I'm not gonna do it very well, but when working with these, they both take about 18 to 19 turns before you can actually get it to a useful thing. So like I said, if you're gonna be trying to turn this 18 times 4, one for each corner, you're gonna hate life. Well, let's see what else. What came in the contents of the Footmasters? It's packaged a little bit better, and the hardware, I wouldn't say it's good stainless. It's definitely not stainless, but they do come with flat washers and lock washers. A little bit shinier, finish just a little bit nice. And the fancy, expensive ones actually just come with nuts and screws. You can see a little difference in the head. Some are, what would you call, pan heads, while the other ones are more of a, these are pan heads, these are just cheap ones. I mean, these look like something you get with IKEA hardware. Anyway, with the fancy expensive HQ, you only get nuts and bolts, and I believe they are, what are they, 12 millimeter? Oh, I got it written down somewhere. Yeah, 12 millimeter bolts, and looking at them, they're the same, just finish, type, quality. The win goes to the knockoffs. Let's start with some teardown. Like I said, once I started tearing these down, this is kind of like what shocked me. I'll start with the knockoff. Where should we start? First of all, I believe this is a butyl rubber and a nylon wheel. I'll tell you what, let's go and take that wheel off. This is the part that kind of made me irk at first. Just a cheap, man, I mean, it's, of course there's not going to be any weight loaded on these screws. There's just like an axle. All the weight will be on that, but just seeing the build quality of these things. Oh, I can't even get this screw out. Alright. About 8 minutes in. Again, I'm not a professional filmmaker. All I had was a cheap camera that I bought probably for 10 bucks at Walmart, and a stand that came with my gun scope. Anyway, this is the kind of build that just made me, wow. I said, if this thing is supposed to hold 1,100 pounds like it said, there's no bearing. It's just a grease pin held together with self-tapping sheet metal screws. Let's put that little greasy wheel off to the side. Alright, down to the frame. If you look closely, let me see if I can get the light. Yeah, man, this is, you can see it's the open bearings, and that's one of the selling points with the Caster HQs. They believe they have a bearing seal, bearing cap, whatever. They keep the elements out. Anyway, sit here and take it apart, and it slides really good. This knockoff, I don't see where it's made. It's probably made in China, while the Caster HQ say they're made in Korea. This comes out, and it comes out. Let me see. When it's fully extended to where it's a little useful, the Footmasters, they're about 3.6 inches high, and when it's just resting on the wheel, we're talking about 3.175 inches. The numbers advertised are pretty close, so you know, I was measured with the set of calipers. Nothing. That's way too accurate for this, but anyway, keep going. So this is the stuff you just don't, I can't find videos on. Anyway, looks like some pot metal with what they claim to be a butyl rubber boot, threaded. And this is one of the scary revealing things that, oh crud, Anyway, believe it or not, even though it's not holding weight, the only thing holding this, I don't know what to call this, King 10, anything holding this in is this really tiny, I mean, it's so bad, it's not stripped, but it won't tighten anymore, so it is just one of the crappiest things you'll ever see. Sadly, when I go to the next product, it's not any better. Like I said, everything's greased in this. This little son of a gun holds this guy in. Not very great. I was a little surprised. Anyway, this is all greased up. It's supposed to reduce some friction. You can see down the center, this is the weight where it holds onto. Let's see. What is this guy? This guy, I know what it is. I already looked. Anyway, this is a metric bolt. It's a 1.5 pitch. And the build of this, man, I really hope this is on camera. You can see where it's got like a race that's adjustable. And like I said, this is, you can see it rotating as I rotate that. Anyway, that is the foot Naster. But like I said, this is greased in an attempt to reduce some friction. The threads on this are greasy. This is all greased up, being held together with a tiny little booger. I mean, it's really crappy. Like I said, this is probably what leads to the little wobble that I didn't like when I first opened took it out of the package. So let's scoot the cheap one, or Amazon's choice, out of the way. Let's see. First thing with the caster headquarters, I noticed there's not a little bit of an offset like these ones will have. This actually goes through the tire. And let me get my big screwdriver. I believe one of these aren't, at first I thought they were just two screws holding an axle or something, but it actually is a little fancier. Kudos to caster headquarters. Oh, first of all, before I start that, like I said, it says made in Korea. The brand name on this is, well, let's see, model number TP60, made in Korea. It's got a nice little thing to help you say where it's up and down. It says Samsung parking caster, which is part of the interesting story as I started looking. The name of the manufacturer looks like Triopines. Now on Amazon, caster headquarters says that their brand is Wheelmaster. Going through page after page on Google Images, trying to find some evidence of this brand, or just couldn't find anything on Wheelmasters. No matter what I did, it kept coming back to caster headquarters. So sure, fine, I'm buying a brand called Wheelmasters. This shows up, Triopines. Looks the same. I don't know what the difference is, but everything looks the same as that Wheelmaster they spoke of. But if you look up Triopines, they don't even advertise this guy. I don't know what it is. Their webpage, there is a catalog you can download, and there's a bunch of model numbers and weights and stuff. But somehow Triopines is associated to Samsung, and if you look up either of these two brands on Google, you'll find zip. I tried and tried, but nothing. Anyway, see some specs on this. The TP60F claims to be 2,400 pounds versus 1,100 pounds of the foot Naster. Let's see. Oh, let's do some of this. When it's standing, the lowest setting on the wheel is about 3.272, and when it's fully extended, the useful amount of distance or height would be about 3.85. So even standing next to the side of these are a little bit taller, but they are, again, I was using calipers, that's what I have, but they're really close to what the advertiser says. Let's see, let's just go and keep taking this. Where was I? Gosh darn it. These videos are hard. Anyway, keep going. Interesting, a little bolt, and it's got some locking teeth on it. Now you got a nice little pin. You can see where this goes through. When I first got these, took them out, it was a little difficult to take this apart. I believe there was some Loctite. I don't have a UV light or anything to check, but really difficult, probably because it dug into the aluminum or something, or the cast. There is a little bit of a, I don't know, bearing sleeve or something. Anyway, but the wheel itself, nothing any fancier than the knockoff brands. Let's see if we can get these. I can't measure. they're about the same. They are about the Chinese one, or that's what I'm going to call it, the special. They're about 1.97, I believe, wheels. And these are supposed to be 2-inch wheels, but honestly they look almost like they got them from the same vendor. What is odd about this, there is just a, man, I don't know if that's even grease or my hands are greasy from the previous build, but no grease on there. The wheel inside has got like a bunch of flashing from the manufacturer. Someone didn't deflash it. Let's keep taking this apart. So start unwinding it. Like I said, this takes about 18-19 turns with the fancy wrench. If you're lucky enough to buy some, this is probably a cheapie. Anyway, keep going. Whoa! This is super similar to the Footmaster or the Amazon's Choice. Metals look a little different, but the build's about the same. Height-wise, this one seems a little taller. This one just a little different. Anyway, if you were to squeeze them, I would say about the same durometer. What do you call it? Somewhere on the Amazon page they listed the Shore 70D. I think they try to list at the wheel, but there's no way these wheels are 70. They're pretty hard nylon. This is definitely probably around 70 durometer. They're about the same. Don't let the footprints fool you. They feel about the same. Alright, so what I forgot to tell you, this when you put them side to side, they're just about as wobbly when they're on the caster there. It was a little disappointing, and that's just one of the things leading up to this whole disappointment. Bearing does spin a little better. As we get in there, I'll show you probably the casting, but this thing's held together the same manner, and if we take it apart, it's surprisingly cheaper. I don't know what to say. I mean, I just don't like this holding my parts together. Again, there will be a weight on there, so this really doesn't do anything except for hold it in place, but just feel like it's a really strong weak point. Where's the other one? There you go. So this is the Footmaster on my left. This is the caster HQ on the right. The washer's a little bit bigger, not greasy. Anyway, you can see that just holds this little guy in. This one's not greased. I don't know why. The caster headquarters is the same thread pitch, 1.5. Diameters are a little bit different. The one on the HQ is a little wider, but like I said, the HQ has this nice 13mm bolt that's going to help me out. Plastic wise, I don't know what to tell you what they are. The Footmaster actually seems a little bit nicer, but they have different interfaces. This one, let's see if we can do this. Gosh darn it, this camera stuff is hard. Anyway, you can see, man, I hope there's some light getting in there. Let's see what we can do. Is that helping? You can see where there's like a removable race. This one has like a little bit of a sealed bearing. If I go in there, I can dig out some grease easily, but let's see, digging in here, I can't even hit a bearing, so they're tucked in there pretty well. Definitely a different thing, but like I said, this seat's a little bit different in there versus the diameter on that guy. Oh man, I'm blocking things. I said, but before I put this all back together, I'm probably gonna grease this up a little bit. I feel like with some weight on her, you know, if it's on wheels, this thing's not gonna see any weight. But I plan on really putting this down on the rubber foot most of the time. This is going to sit underneath the bench. When I need to, if I need another work surface, like this is a nice work surface, I'll roll this thing up, and there will be weight on this. Or this will be weight on the most, and then rolling there'll be some weight on the wheels. So there is going to be some weight on this, especially when it's sitting around for a while and you need to spin this little guy. You're going to need some assistance, and I believe a little bit of grease will help. Wow, I don't know. Stupid video editing. I hope that works. Anyway, I'm gonna probably be greasing this up as well where the wheel goes together. Any important things to talk about? Let's see. Let's take these out. The plates are similar, you know, different colors. This looks like just a little bit different. I do like the way the bearing is on this guy. Not is it only exposed on this side, it's exposed down here. This one's sealed off in there. Oh, I do see some bearings just get the light just right. I do see bearings, they look dry, so I'll probably be packing these with grease as well. I don't plan on moving a lot, but they are about the same bolt pattern. I would say go as far as saying they are, the plate is 2.87 by 2.87, and the bolt spacing is 2.28. I measured them earlier. They are about the same. They're advertised a little bit different, but again, I'm measuring with a set of calipers. Not the best way to be measuring these. My final thoughts on this, there's some things I really like about this. I like there's something about this bolt being yellow and being the manufacturer that makes me feel like it's a higher grade. You know, it's got a little bit of a, I don't know if it's cadmium or some kind of plate to help keep it from corroding. Here in Arizona, it's not that big of a deal, but it's still in the back of my head. But this guy has a 13 millimeter bolt, so if you're looking for casters, make sure you can see this bolt, nut. Make sure you get on this, because there's no way you're going to be turning this up and down very much. You're going to hate life. I like the bearings in this. The construction is similar. I don't like, oh yeah, this is another just weird things. Here's the foot naster. It's got a nice flat button head, and I don't know if you can see that. The headquarters has a tapered head on there. Why would you use a taper on a flat washer? Just doesn't make any sense. The other thing, caster headquarters, kind of crappy hardware. I'm gonna probably use the hardware that came with my casters of the bench. A little bit bigger. I'll probably have to drill things out. I don't know yet. I'd like to keep these, but this video is evidence that they actually came with the footmaster. So maybe I'll just go buy some hardware down at Ace. I'll go buy some good hardware. But honestly, if it wasn't for this nice little 13 millimeter nut here, I'd probably be sending the caster HQs home. I really think, I'm not sure if I get my $40 worth, or shit, how much more? Yeah, a little less than $40 more for that. I do like the wheels the way they're set, but honestly, it's not much different than this wheel. Just knockoff, brand name, they're about the same. Alright, hopefully that fixes some of the questions people have, because I know I had a lot of questions to this and kind of amazed by the lack of information out there. Alright, thank you. You leave messages, maybe I'll answer questions if I can. Alright.